What's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Stock Talk. This is a series I make whenever I feel it's necessary, where we cover any exciting news or price action in regard to some of the stocks we've been covering on the channel. So in today's case, it is going to be Moderna, Inovio, Novavax, and Sorrento. If you guys have been following the channel, you know you'd definitely be familiar with these stocks. We have talked about them a lot in the past, and they saw a pretty solid day today. Okay, so Moderna not so much, but Inovio, Novavax, and Sorrento have been doing well over the past few days. So I figured it would be appropriate to cover them. All right, so before we get into that, we don't have much news to cover today. This is going to be more price action. We're just going to look at the charts. I'm going to let you guys know what I'm seeing more from a technical perspective, just because there really isn't any news to go off of, because there isn't any news at all that they're releasing. But I did want to show you guys this that kind of just sets the precedent and sets the grounds for the entire sector as a whole. All right, so here we can just see a line of reports talking about COVID cases, okay? So I'm not going to look into any of these articles. You guys can go look into them further if you want to, but I just want to read the headlines because it gets the general message across, okay? So Texas reports a record number of hospitalized coronavirus patients after state reopened early. Texas reports 2 consecutive days of record coronavirus hospitalizations weeks after reopening. Just in time for summer, Florida is seeing a surge in coronavirus cases, but there's good news too. Louisiana reports increase in coronavirus cases from phase 1 of reopening. See regional data. Okay, so I think as states start to reopen, this was obviously a worry, right? That after quarantine, once quarantine's up, as states slowly start to reopen, you would see this second wave of COVID, which is very intuitive. That's what you would think just from a rational perspective. That makes sense. People are quarantining. Obviously, the virus will spread far more inefficiently. But as they begin to reopen, just as a factor of people being out and about, there is obviously going to be more cases of coronavirus. Okay, so it's to be expected. It is not surprising by any means. But again, this is in terms of investing in this sector, this is definitely something to keep an eye on and have notice of, because it will just draw attention back to COVID-19. And again, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, a lot of craziness. So for a little bit there, for the past couple of weeks, COVID was actually put on the back burner. But I think as states start to reopen and the coronavirus cases go up, and it will probably be significant, as you can see here, obviously with all the headlines we just read, there are significantly more cases that are popping up as the states are reopening. So it will bring attention back to the sector and the companies that operate within that sector, all right? So like Moderna, we'll look at this. This is the only other news article I wanted to show you. It's a small one, but it is relevant. So this is about Inovio, and we'll actually look at that as we look at Inovio. Okay, so let's start with Moderna. As always, before we get into this, guys, if you do go on to gain value from this, I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribed if you're new here. Okay, so that said, let's get into Moderna. I really haven't changed this chart for a while now, just because there's not much going on with this stock right now, but I'll just let you guys know what I'm seeing. Okay, so again, Moderna has been following this rough trajectory since March, so for the past few months, ever since it started popping off. And I want to let you guys know that with all of these, I'm going to be only looking at the daily candles, so the chart on daily terms. Okay, so each one of these candles is a single day, and that is because I'm looking for kind of macro trend changes. Okay, I'm not a day trader, you guys know that. I do swing trade, so I'm looking for overall macro trend shifts. All right, and that is why we're on the daily candle. Okay, so first thing I'm looking at here is volume. Volume is looking pretty good. It's actually pretty high, and there are some big green bars here just over the past few days, which is promising. There is more volume than there was when the stock was really blowing up, which is definitely promising. It means that there's a lot of traders in the market. There's a lot of investors in here. Although the stock is going sideways, there is still a lot of volume and a lot of capital flowing within the stock. Okay, so it is prone, when there is more volume, to have a rapid move up or down. I personally don't think there's no technical data to say this, but from a fundamental perspective, I don't think Moderna will go lower, again, because they did price their secondary offering around $75, $76, whatever it was. So I do think that with a lot of attention turned back onto COVID and coronavirus as those cases start to increase. I do think that this sector will see some love again. And again, this happens, you guys. Remember back here when we saw that initial spike up, it corrects itself, it capitulates, it goes sideways for a while, for a week or so, for a couple weeks even. And that's kind of what we're seeing now, right? We have some great news. There's some skepticism, it corrects, it goes sideways. We have some great news, rinse and repeat, and that's kind of just what's happening again here. And it is kind of just bouncing right under this line that used to be support, now is resistance. So if it does close a daily candle above, like significantly above this line, it would have to hit almost around here, around like $63-ish for me to actually be convinced that we're kind of back on an uptrend. But that's just me personally. Always remember, you guys, this is an advice or investment advice, straight up. This is just my opinion, so keep that in mind. But I do think with the fundamental factors of, again, states reopening, more coronavirus cases popping up, I think there will be a lot of attention turned back onto this sector, which makes me bullish on it overall. And again, from a technical perspective, you can see RSI, both stochastic and traditional RSI, pretty low. There's nothing really to see here, but the stochastic RSI is really low, and a lot of times when we see it around this level, it does take a turn for the better. Okay, always remember, you guys, it could go down. It is still below this line of support, which is like, even if you did it like that, I am reserved with my lines that I draw. I try to average it out, but you could, if you wanted to draw like a technical one and go right at the end of these candles over here, it is technically above it still. So just keep that in mind, but I would want to see another significant move up to really be convinced of the uptrend. But again, if we do see that, this is still possible. This is still very possible if it wants to bounce back up and continue that upward trend line and that upper line of resistance that we've seen over the past few months. That could happen. I'm very skeptical of it, but again, I've said this before. I think it could. Again, if there's more attention on this sector, if things do go Moderna's way, I would not be surprised at all to see Moderna hit around the $75 mark. All right, so we'll call Moderna there. Let's move on to Inovio. So as you guys can see here, I left this on here. I sent this out. I posted this on Instagram and sent it out to the newsletter about a week or so ago. Time is going super, super fast and slow at the same time. It's hard to remember when exactly I sent this out. You know what? Obviously, we'll just check this. So it was on June 3rd. It seems like longer ago. Okay, so it was on June 3rd. It wasn't too long ago. It was about a week ago. But yeah, I sent this out about a week ago, and that is when Inovio broke this very obvious kind of upward trend line. Okay, so it was bouncing off this line of support a lot. Okay, so use it here, it bounced down, use it here, and over the course of a couple of months even, or a few weeks, it did use this line of support. And once it broke that, you see it just I'm not going to bring up the hourly candle right now, but once it broke that, trust me, it just cratered down. And if you guys are invested, you remember that. But it's good that you know what, we'll take it to the hourly, because I want to show you guys this little upward triangle that's kind of slowly beginning to form. Okay, so again, as you guys can see here, this did crash in like an hour. Once it broke that line of support, it just tanked. It went straight down from like $14 to the mid 12s, which is a significant price drop. It was what, like 15% or something, and it has been going flat since. But again, as you can see here, over the past couple since June. Oh wait, well, that was just today. But today at least, I thought we were still on the ridiculous. But today at least, it is starting to create a slight upward trend. So for the past few days, I should say, for the past couple days since June 8th, obviously, it is kind of in this upward trend, and it would be nice to see it. The big thing for me in terms of Inovio, I would need to see it cross back above this line of what used to be support and hold above that, and then it can go for its next move up. But that would be very bullish to me if it could get back up this range and close a daily candle above this line that used to be support. Okay, and it does, again, all the technicals, you guys know, technicals come second to me. Okay, fundamentals always come first, especially in this sector. It's so news driven. It's so based on optimism, and not only optimism, but the actual news, obviously, that these companies, the tangible news that these companies release. And this was a pretty good article about Inovio. So Yahoo Finance, upcoming Korean COVID-19 vaccine trial marks key milestone for Inovio. 5-star analyst says buy. You guys can go and look at this whole thing if you want to. I just want to read kind of kind of a few areas in here. To this end, investor focus is locked down on Inovio Pharmaceuticals. On June 4th, Inovio, the International Vaccine Institute, and Seoul National University Hospital announced they would collaborate on the initiation of a phase 1-2 trial of INO's COVID-19 DNA vaccine. So that's good. Taking a closer look at the study, it is broken down in 2 stages. These include the evaluation of the candidate's safety, tolerability, immunogenicity. I can't find the part where the heck was it? But anyway, they're starting, where the heck was it? But they're starting trials in Korea, which is good. Again, Korea was one of the countries in this world who handled COVID-19 the best. They had very good control. They quarantined very early. They were very early on trend. So it is promising that a country who handled this so well is choosing to partner up with Inovio. That is bullish for Inovio. So keep an eye on that. And I think what I was looking for was, okay, here it is. I fully read this article earlier, and I knew it was in here, but it's right here. Adding to the good news, INO's U.S. Phase 1 trial assessing INO 4800 is progressing on schedule, with preliminary results slated for release later this month. So that's a big deal. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I don't know why I couldn't, it was right there. Okay, but their U.S. trials, so their Phase 1 trial, it is early. Again, Moderna's in like Phase 2, going on to Phase 3 trials. But Phase 1, they're finishing it up come the end of this month, and then they will release that data come the end of this month. Okay, so over the next few weeks, they will release that data. That is very important for Inovio. Sorry, I did not close my mail. Let me do that. So that is big for Inovio. That's great news for them. Again, from a technical perspective, I do want to see this stock get above this previous line of supports before I get bullish on it. But again, if they release some good news come the end of the month, if that doesn't happen by the end of the month, then I will be skeptical, but we'll see. Overall, I am bullish on Inovio. I'm bullish on this sector as a whole for the reasons I mentioned at the beginning of this video. But that's enough on Inovio. Let's move on to Novavax quick, okay? So in the last stock talk I did where we covered Novavax, I actually had this bull flag drawn, and it has not changed since, which is crazy, okay? So this, even if you don't want to call it a bull flag, this is very bull flag looking to me, but it is definitely a descending triangle. Okay, so in a lot of times you see this descending triangle, it does tend to break up. So this looks like a bull flag to me. Okay, so this definitely looks like a bull flag. You get that parabolic price action. It reaches a high, capitulates, it comes down, and then it's following a lower, kind of just a lowering line of resistance. But it also has that baseline of support. Okay, so it's flat, it keeps bouncing off. It's actually a little higher, but it does spend a lot of time around this kind of $40 to $44 mark. So it is always bouncing off of that. It's more like right here to be specific, but you guys get the point here. It's a descending triangle on top of parabolic price action. So that usually, this again, as the name implies, a bull flag. This is a very bullish pattern. So it will be interesting to see what happens over the next. Let's go back to the daily chart quick. It doesn't look as exciting, but again, it has been following this line, and this definitely reinforces that lower line of support. Okay, because on the daily candles, it's been bouncing off almost this exact region and actually closing around there. Okay, so that's good. It will be interesting to see, like, this bull flag pattern will complete itself over the course of the next few days. So it will be interesting to see from a technical perspective what happens with Novavax. I did look into some news. I did some research from the fundamental perspective, and I couldn't find any significant data. There was some, honestly, the few articles I did look over were kind of negative, talking about analysts kind of backing off of Novavax. I haven't, again, I'm just going to be real, I haven't seen any good news. I haven't seen any tangible news. So obviously from a fundamental perspective, you guys know I've always liked Moderna and Inovio over Novavax. But from a technical perspective, this is definitely a bull flag in my eyes. And if this does play out, it should break out to the upside. But we'll have to see. All right, so last but not least, Sorrento. Sorrento is on a daily chart, it looks crazy, okay, because it just had such a crazy move up and down within the span of 2 or 3 days. So we'll look at this on an hourly just because it's a little more digestible. But again, yeah, it had this rapid move up, rapid move down. Volume absolutely dissipated after that initial this is definitely a bubble to me. So this is what a bubble looks like, you guys. We have been talking about bubbles a lot. So this was for sure a bubble. It inflated. It went parabolic. Went fucking straight up to the moon super quick. Popped, went down, and then lost almost all of its volume. So as you guys can see here, there's damn, it's crazy how much volume it had compared to what volume it has now. But you can see here that there is volume slowly starting to pick back up. All right, so it's there is more volume, although the volume isn't as significant as it was obviously back here. It is greater than it's been for the past couple weeks. Okay, so there is volume picking up. That is bullish for Sorrento. They did have that kind of lawsuit, little mishap, little debacle over the past couple weeks. So it makes sense that investors were kind of veering away from that. But I can't reiterate this statement enough, because it is the grounds for why I am bullish on the sector still. It's just as these states start to reopen, and as the coronavirus cases go up and people realize that this is still a real thing, I think a lot of people are discounting the fact that this is real and COVID season's over. But it's not, and I think, again, as the coronavirus cases spike up, as the numbers continue to spike as states reopen, a lot of eyes will be turned back to these stocks. And as you guys know, if you've been watching, of course, I always say that, like I imply that you watch, but if you guys have been tuning in, you would know that I'm very skeptical about the current economy. I think there's irrational optimism, okay? So I always say that. You have to be optimistic, but rationally optimistic. And I think in markets right now, there's a lot of irrational optimism about opening back up and the economy is just going to get back to normal. And obviously the economies in the market are different, but at some point it has to catch up, okay? They're not brothers, but they're cousins. Brothers and sisters, they're cousins. All right. So I do think, again, just close it out with the same thought that I've said multiple times. As states reopen, as COVID numbers, as the cases for COVID numbers go up, these companies should do well. And with a falling market, I think a lot of the market will start to do poorly, and that will just be another factor that plays into my bullish argument and my bullish theory for this sector on top of everything I just said. Okay, so we'll call it there, you guys. As always, if you do want to know exactly which positions I have, I do hold the stock, so I hold Moderna, Inovio, and Sorrento, not Novavax. If you guys are curious as to the exact positions I hold in regards to those stocks, I do hold some of the stock, but I do hold some calls on them as well. If you guys want to know what those are, you can check out the complete portfolio and newsletter product. First link down in the description. It is, as it states, it's a complete breakdown of literally every position in my complete portfolio. So call options, put options, stocks, even cryptocurrencies. And I send out a newsletter on every trading day, every morning for me at 8:30 Hawaii time, that I send that out, where I talk about the trades I make that day. It's just more real-time updates of what I'm thinking about the current markets and what trades I'm making, why I'm making the trades I'm making, and just me rationalizing kind of my thought process and my decision making. Okay, so check that out if you're interested. If not, no worries at all. We'll call it there, you guys. As always, take action, make waves. Till next time, peace.